Here's a question for you. What do a Ford F-250 gasoline truck and a Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid have in common? Is it that they both like to weave through traffic and then do 55 in the fast lane once the road is clear? Well, yes, but they also have something else in common. They are both prime targets for catalytic converter theft. During the lockdown of 2020, catalytic converter theft more than quadrupled. But why is it this one part of your exhaust system that many enthusiasts wish they didn't have so valuable? Who's stealing these things? And more importantly, who's buying these stolen cats? Today, we're gonna look at this criminal epidemic hitting car owners and show you what a trash fire of a human being you'd have to be to steal a catalytic converter. Seriously, don't do it. For those of you who don't know, a catalytic converter, or CAT, is an essential part of your exhaust system that was added to all cars in the US in 1975. In 1970, the EPA was formed and gave car manufacturers 5 years to reduce emissions from automobiles by 90%. That sounds like an impossible feat, but the OEMs managed to pull it off thanks to catalytic converters. CATs use metals such as rhodium, platinum, and palladium as catalysts. When heated up while driving, these catalysts react with harmful chemicals in your exhaust, neutralizing them and turning them into inert, safe gases. While this is a pretty impressive feat, it uses some very expensive metals. And those rare metals are what the thieves are after. Platinum, as you might expect, is very expensive, at about $1,000 an ounce. But palladium is 3 times more expensive. These are some crazy precious metals. But what really makes catalytic converters so valuable to thieves is rhodium. At the beginning of 2020, rhodium went for a staggering $5,000 an ounce. But the madness doesn't end there. Rhodium has always been in short supply, and when the global pandemic shut down the mines, the cost of rhodium went through the roof. This year, it hit its peak of over $25,000 an ounce. That's a lot of money sitting under nearly every car on the road. Catalytic converters have very small amounts of these metals, and as a cat gets older, these metals get used up as they react with the harmful exhaust gases. But right now, even scrap ones have enough rhodium and palladium in them to sell for $100, $200, or even $300. And if someone steals yours, you've got to get a new one, which could cost $1,000 to $1,500. But besides material theft, how are you affected by a stolen cat? Well, it basically means your exhaust is exiting right under the side of your car. Not only is it excessively loud, but it also means the hot exhaust gases are getting let out where they're not supposed to. And depending on your car, that could melt wires, hoses, and do other damage to your car. Even a short drive to the mechanic could do some damage. But if you find that your cat has been stolen, you're probably in good enough shape to drive to the nearest shop. You'll probably be okay. But what makes a car a target for catalytic converter theft? Will a thief just go to any old car? Well, some cars get targeted more than others, and it's because not all cats are the same, as some cats are worth more than others. Generally, a catalytic converter lasts about 10 years, so thieves tend to target newer cars. The humble Toyota Prius has long been a target of catalytic converter theft because it's a hybrid. But that is not because hybrids have more expensive cats. While it's true that hybrids tend to have a little more palladium in them than most cars, the main reason that plug-in hybrids get targeted is simply because they use the engine less. Most Prius owners can do their commute all on the electric power of the car and barely even use the internal combustion engine. This means less gases going out of the exhaust and therefore more rare metals still in the catalytic converter. But that's not the only reason a car gets targeted. On the total other end of the spectrum is the Ford F-250. The F-250 is a big target for catalytic converter theft because the OEM cat can cost $2,500. It's a big boy, and I guess the F-250's exhaust needs a lot of catalyzing to make it road legal, which means more valuable metals being used as catalysts. But also, with this truck and many others, it's easy to get to the catalytic converter. Most thieves can just slide right under that truck. You don't need to lift it at all. No extra equipment. Which actually brings me to my next point. How are people stealing something that's welded to your car? Well, it's actually a lot easier than you think. All you need is one of these. Turns out the metal used for exhaust piping is really, really thin. Once a thief is under your car, it can take as little as 30 seconds to make 2 cuts and be gone without anyone noticing. Even dealerships get hit. This Mitsubishi dealership in Texas lost 20 catalytic converters in just 20 minutes. I now realize I basically gave a tutorial on how to steal these things, so I want to reiterate, do not do this. Do not be a scumbag. I'm willing to bet if someone catches you, they won't be so kind. Once a catalytic converter has been stolen, your car is gonna sound a little different. Since the thieves have cut the exhaust piping, they essentially did a muffler delete on your car. You basically end up with a straight pipe car, and I gotta tell you, it's not the sound you'd expect to come out of a Prius. So the question that's been bothering me is, once a thief has your cat, how do they turn that into cold hard cash? Thieves take the stolen catalytic converters to local junkyards to sell them, which is where I thought the whole thing would fall apart, as the thief would get caught selling a cat that had been reported stolen. Unfortunately, this often isn't the case. Since catalytic converters really only last 10 years, they don't have any sort of identification on them that would tie them to your car. There's no VIN number or anything on the cat. It would be almost impossible for a junkyard to tell a stolen cat from one that was pulled from a wreck or an old car. Plenty of people are selling catalytic converters for legitimate reasons, and there's no system to distinguish them from thieves. Some of you might say that it's the junkyard's responsibility to find out where the cat they're buying came from, but without any kind of regulation or enforcement, the thieves would just go to a different junkyard, and the ones that were following the rules would lose business. If OEMs started putting VINs on catalytic converters, however, that might be a start, but it would be years before that system would be common enough for junkyards to require proof of ownership to sell the catalytic converters, and by then, it's pretty likely all the new cars will be electric anyway, and the thieves will be stealing batteries or ohms or whatever the new grift is. I'll say it again, do not steal catalytic converters, not just because it's illegal, but I've heard plenty of stories of thieves that were crushed by cars because they were in a rush. Some might call that comeuppance. So what can you do as a car owner to protect yourself from the absolute douchebags that would want to steal your cat? Well, there's a few things that work and a few things that don't. Insurance companies recommend things like parking in well-lit areas or in a garage. Wow. Thanks for the wisdom, guys. Another suggestion is getting your VIN engraved on the cat. Since the rise in these thefts, many local shops are doing this for free. You can also check with your local police department. A few of them have programs for VIN engravings if you want to make your cat trackable. A lot of times, cops will sponsor an event where you can get this done for free. Honestly, I think VINs on cats is a pretty good idea, but it needs to come from the manufacturer. It needs to be something the junkyards can expect to see. Otherwise, the thief could just file it off. Also, it won't stop someone from stealing a catalytic converter in the first place. For that, you're gonna need a cat shield. A cat shield or cat plate is just a thick piece of metal welded on the bottom of your car, covering your catalytic converter. There are companies that make pre-cut ones for almost any car, or you can just cut any sheet metal and do it yourself. Even a cage of rebar would work. It really doesn't take much to keep your cat safe, and you can use this as a good opportunity to work on your car or practice welding or have a local shop do it for you. Again, that's just adding another step. If a thief was really determined, they can still cut through just about anything you weld to your car, but since speed is such a big part of catalytic converter theft, it's more likely that they'll move on to an easier target. I like the idea of cat shields because not only do they protect your cat, but they smoothen out the bottom of your car, giving you a more aerodynamic surface like the floor of a race car, some extra shielding like a freaking skid plate. Hell yeah. In fact, car enthusiasts have plenty of ways to deter criminals from cat theft. Are you on airbag suspension? Drop your car to the absolute ground. No one will be able to steal your cat if the car is too low to get a jack under there. Also, if you're not in California, maybe consider straight piping your car. No one can steal your cat if it's not there. Seriously though, I think the only way for these kinds of thefts is for OEMs to have some kind of serial number or way to track catalytic converters, and for scrapyards and recyclers to have some sort of accountability for buying stolen parts. If you have an idea that could hashtag save the cats, leave a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching Wheelhouse. If you've ever had your catalytic converter stolen, let me know down in the comments. Sorry that happened. I'd like to hear about your experience. Luckily, my car is pretty low and the cats are an extremely inconvenient place. Just watch this episode of Money Pit to find out how. We put some exhaust cutouts on my car, and as you'll see, the exhaust system on a 2006 Mustang is kind of annoying. Go ahead and follow Donut on all social media at Donut Media. We've been posting a lot of fire memes lately on the old Instagram there. It's been a lot of fun. Follow me at Nolan J. Sykes. Be kind. I'll see you next week. Can I borrow someone's jack?